I think about the earlier days of redesign at New Dorp High School, which was back in 2006. And we knew once we were changing the internal structure of the school, we needed to really change the way instruction was also. And in order to change instruction, we really had to see what was going on. And we really had to analyze the practices that we had in the school. And the only way to do that was through student data.
Data has become such a part of everything that we're doing. And I think for the administration, not even talking about the teachers, data became just this overwhelming, large thing hanging over our heads that we really didn't know what to do with it. Any time that we really wanted to try and do something to move instruction, if we wanted to get information, just the process of getting data became an enormous task that we never really often got to the point of actually making changes to what we were doing. So for me, I guess the biggest change with DataCation is that now we were able to get things quickly and easily, and it made it so that the process of getting data wasn't the difficulty. Now it was, okay, here are these kids, look at, we see where they're struggling, we see what they need, now what do we do about it?
Back in the day, it was horrendous. Today, for me to sit at my desk, to click around, to see NCLB data at a flash, for me to see student data, for me to see teacher data, for me to see department data, course data. It tells me a lot about where my school is going, where are weak areas and those that we still have to address. And it also tells us where we're excelling. To be able to click and just see that, in whether it be in a report form, a graph form, individual student data, it's great.
Implementing DataCation for teachers, we've kind of taken the approach of easing them into the process. So we started with using the PADS program, which is how they get their grades uploaded into HSST for report cards, which is something every teacher has to do. So it was pretty easy to kind of force the issue of saying you have to get on. So by the beginning of this year, we knew that every teacher at least was logging into Scheduler. And from that, you could see we didn't have to do anything. Just some of the teachers that are a little more tech savvy started to notice the features that were on Scheduler and started to use it. And once they found something they liked, they're saying to their friends, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? So without doing any kind of training beyond setting them up in the PAD system, we had different smaller learning communities giving professional development on the features of Scheduler. And I guess we kind of to see this momentum building up, and even people starting to say, hey, I can use my iPhone with it, and being excited, emailing the principal, I have questions about it.
Scheduler has definitely made my job as a teacher easier, only because everything's in one place, and it's so simple to use, from attendance to looking up grades, to looking up transcripts, to just finding out what services are available to the students and that the students need, to entering grades from the report card when we used to have to bubble grades in on sheets, and then maybe the sheets would be spit back to us because we missed it, things were erased. Now it goes up on DataCation, and there's not even a need to save it. It saves on its own. So if you forget a save, if your computer crashes, if you walk away, it logs itself out, so there's a security level there, which is important to me. There are anecdotal logs on Scheduler, which is extremely important to me because I can notate on Scheduler if I'm having a particular problem with a student, which could range anywhere from cutting to failing to possibly even falling asleep. And other teachers and guidance counselors and staff can see that anecdotal log and then say, you know, I'm having a problem with that student as well. You know, let's get together and find out what's going on. It really knits the staff closer together when we can see those logs. And they're not just complaining logs, but actually constructive logs. And I've used that a lot, and I've seen it work.
One of the areas in particular that DataCation has helped us is with our students with disabilities. It's one of our subgroups that we've had a difficulty moving. So this year what we did is we used the DataCation portal so that we're sure that we're catching every student with disabilities in the areas of math and in English, and that they are receiving the review classes that they need to help them pass the Regents exam.
Now, every teacher who has an IEP student can click on their class, like on that student, and we've now uploaded our IEPs. So teachers can now access it, they can now read it, it makes sense to them, and for the first time, it has allowed that document to come alive. When you're talking about collaborative team teaching, where teachers can comment on the anecdotal piece of Scheduler, so that they can share their comments or their strategies for certain students based on the IEP. Huge. The pressure from parents will now be stronger, I believe, because the parents will be able to monitor their children on a regular basis. They'll be able to see if, you know, is my child weak in classwork, or is my child missing homework? Have they been in every class? Up until now, our other systems of data that parents can gather data from, they see the daily attendance. Now the parents will see the class attendance. That's very different.
I think parental access for DataCation and for Schedule is important because although a teacher can try and contact the parent, sometimes they're not successful, sometimes they have to leave a message, sometimes they don't connect. And although parental contact is extremely important on a personal level, if a parent wants to find out at any time of day if their child was in school, if their child is passing, they can just go on the computer at 1 in the morning and find out. Now they have a picture of actually what's going on in the different classes and in the school as a whole. And that's what a parent should have, a total overall picture of how their child is achieving in the school.
It certainly gives me more time in my day to have conversations with students instead of spending so much time collecting data on my own through multiple sources. Now everything's at, you know, the touch of a button, and it just gives me so much more of that time to attend to the other tasks that I have at work.
And it really helps in terms of planning with the students, because
Right.
now we can access this information. We know what the needs of the kids are immediately. We know who are the kids who are underperforming in certain areas, and we can make programming decisions for the students, either individually or looking at a whole group, make decisions instructionally for those kids based on the information that we now have available to us. That is, you know, what used to take us an entire semester or a year. Now, you know, those kids are placed, programmed appropriately, and that with, you know, that Julie as well as the other counselors are able to really communicate that information to the students and the parents that, you know, in the past, again, was just a very time-consuming task.
I think anything that's a time-saving device will help me be able to focus more on lesson development and implementation. And there's so many aspects, both from inquiry work and from the day-to-day teaching in the classroom, that it frees you up for more time. And it's really time management. And that's really where you excel in DataCation.
What I think is really phenomenal is the fact that it's fast. When you open up New York Start, you can wait for a while till it opens, until you get to the report you want, and then you look at the data. Here, it's instantaneous, especially if your bandwidth is quick, and it allows you to move freely from one place to another place so that you can see what it is that you're looking for, and I think that's huge. So now, for instance, just yesterday, I'm doing a federal grant report based on a grant that we have to report our data, and they wanted our NCLB data. And I was able to just freely click around on DataCation, and I was able to do a report that 3 years ago probably took me a couple of days to do. And literally, I was able to do that report in just maybe an hour.
What I think is the biggest impact that DataCation is going to have on us as a school community is that data really, in the beginning, was really coming from the administration and held within the administration. And now, through the use of DataCation, it is becoming something that every teacher is really being involved in. And now we're going to expand it to the students and the parents, and hopefully, through the use of DataCation, it'll become a part of everything that we're doing in our school building.
We're not working in a vacuum anymore, which is really, the school's getting smaller and smaller. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way, because again, new teachers and seasoned veterans are not feeling like they're in a vacuum anymore. Just because you close your door, you're not alone, because schedule actually lets you access the whole school, even though you're in your class by yourself.
Up until now, and this is the end, last week was the end of my 11th year as a principal, our data has improved consistently over the last 6 years in every single category. And that wouldn't happen unless we had good data to look at how we were going to move it still further. And that's where we're at.